Hey kiddies, it's terrible triple feature time again, and I am really tired from an exhausting but completely awesome weekend meeting the Carpster. Uh, just got off the plane. Hey cat, how are you doing? And how could I deprive you guys of your weekly installment of terrible triple feature wonderfulness? So this one's going to be quick though. We're going to do it Frank Sinatra style. Lickety split. Get it done. This week we're watching 3 movies with fights that are so brutal they end up hurting the audience to watch them. That's right. These are just they're presented very realistically, and we've gotten to know our characters at this point in the film, and so when we see just a bunch of guys pounding on each other, it just hurts, and it's a lot of wincing and cringing and other awfulness. Our menu includes Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler, John Carpenter's They Live, and David Cronenberg's Eastern Promises, with dishonorable mention to Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained. As you can see, the cat loves this triple feature. In Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler, which is the second Darren Aronofsky movie in as many weeks, Mickey Rourke plays Randy the Ram, a wrestler that was very prominent in the pro wrestling scene in the 80s, but not so much in the 90s and early aughts. And he is, by the end of the beginning of the film, he is making his way through the lower circuit of professional wrestling. Still a professional wrestler, but just not getting the gigs like he used to. And so he has to take on fights that aren't as regulated or safe as one would prefer. So he ends up doing a hardcore match. And by this point, we have followed Randy enough in his days that we know we see how human he is. We see him bleach his hair, tan. We see him roid up and everything, and you also see him actually buy all the utensils and everything that he like the cookie pans and everything that he's going to be using in the match. And when you watch it, it kind of hits home like the documentary Beyond the Mat, where while the outcome of professional wrestling matches are decided beforehand, the plot element is fake. What these guys are doing to each other in the ring is pretty awful and physically exhausting. You'll see Randy kind of pre-cut his head so that it'll bleed a lot easier and quicker. This is an actual practice in professional wrestling, and as a result, I'm not sure if they actually I can't imagine they actually did it in The Wrestler, but watch that hardcore match and try not to cringe and just wince at every single thing. We're going in order of increasing brutality, and for the longest time, I think the bar was set with John Carpenter's They Live. This is the seminal classic from the 80s of aliens invading our world and taking us over through marketing, in which a select few people, including professional wrestler Roddy Piper, they can see through the aliens' subterfuge with special glasses. In the middle of the film, Roddy Piper is trying to convince Keith David to put on the glasses so that he can find out what's going on as well, and so Roddy Piper will have an ally. Keith David doesn't want to do this, and as big a guy as Roddy Piper is, if Keith David doesn't want to do something, it's not going to be the easiest feat getting him to do it. And what follows is a 10-minute fight of... It's just astonishing because they choreographed it, they practiced it for 3 weeks so that it looks just like 2 guys beating the ever-loving shit out of each other in a back alley. So they're being thrown around and landing on what appears to be concrete and cars, and just there's a part where Roddy is just bashing Keith David's head into the ground, and it's just astonishing. And you just want it to end after a while because it just looks like it hurts. Um, but it was sort of funny, like watching behind the scenes stuff. It was like they were never in any real danger, and Keith David would later say that Roddy Piper was the best movie fighter he'd ever fought with. He was completely safe, and just as a frame of reference for just how unbelievably manly and strong Roddy Piper was back in the day, Keith said that Roddy Piper would just lift him up. He would just pick him up like a little sack of potatoes and say, "Where you want this, boss?" And it's Keith David. Keith David is massive and scary and wonderful. A fun side note to this movie fight is that there's an episode of South Park where they recreate the bulk of this fight shot for shot with the two special needs kids, Timmy and Jimmy. Finally, we have David Cronenberg's Eastern Promises, and I'm not sure if you people know this. I am a really big David Cronenberg fan. Eastern Promises is the Cronenberg's story of Russian mafia or the Russian mob rather, because mafia is Italian. The Russian mob in London, and features the always wonderful Viggo Mortensen and the equally wonderful Armin Mueller-Stahl. At this point in the film, Armin Mueller-Stahl's mob boss has set up Viggo Mortensen to take the fall for the work of his son, played by the equally great Vincent Cassel. There's so many good actors in this film. Vincent Cassel. And also, she's not going to be involved in it, but Naomi Watts is in this movie, and she's great. So, ends up with Viggo Mortensen, with Armin Mueller-Stahl pointing the finger to Viggo Mortensen's character rather than Vincent Cassel, to these two Turkish mob guys that are out for revenge. And they show up, they go to face Viggo Mortensen in a steam room. Viggo is completely naked, and let's all take a moment and just be excited about naked, tattooed Viggo Mortensen. But this fight goes on for 5 minutes. It's two guys against Viggo. Both of them are armed with linoleum knives, these curved knives used by floor men for ripping up linoleum. And Viggo is completely naked the entire time, thus the brutality of everything is that much higher because he appears to be so vulnerable, because there's nothing between him and knives. And Viggo proceeds to beat the shit out of both of them. He takes his licks, don't get me wrong, but, only one guy leaves that steam room alive from this fight. And it just goes on. And the only real reason I put this above They Live is because of just the nudity and the ferocity of the fight. You hear all the flesh noises and the ripping, and there's just nowhere to go for Viggo. As opposed to in They Live, which has equal amounts of brutality, but it's outdoors. There's, anybody could walk through it at any time, so it could end the fight. This one, Viggo is either going to triumph or die right now. There's no get out of jail free card or just last minute save waiting for him. He has to fight two guys completely naked. They are armed. He is not. It is awesome. Finally, dishonorable mention goes to Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained for the Mandingo fight that occurs when Django and King Schultz meet Calvin Candy for the first time. I say dishonorable mention not because I dislike the film. I think this movie is incredibly good. I love Django Unchained. But generally, you don't want to celebrate Mandingo fighting, whether or not it happened. Just the very thought of it is horrible. These two guys beat each other to death in the space of 5-10 minutes. And Tarantino's very good about showing that nobody other than the racist slaver pieces of shits are excited about this. And it is dirty, it is awful, and if you don't feel uncomfortable watching it, it might be time to do a little soul searching because this is no good. But all right, so that's our quick video of fights so hard, movie fights so hard that they hurt the audience. Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler, John Carpenter's They Live, David Cronenberg's Existence, and a honorable mention to Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained. Hope everybody has a good week, and if you're in Atlanta, Georgia, I can't recommend the World of Coca-Cola tour highly enough. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.